Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're going to look at the biological world in a way you've probably never seen before. We're talking about framing the very foundation of life as an epic, ancient battleground for survival. Seriously, forget everything you know about those quiet, static textbook diagrams. The reality inside every living thing, it's a realm of high-stakes conflict, specialized techniques, and absolute harmony. Just listen to this truth for a second. Before life could evolve, there existed a battlefield so small that it remained invisible to the naked eye. Yet within it lay the foundation of every living organism. Let that sink in. We're talking about a microscopic world defined by strict physical barriers, constant energetic exchanges, and these highly specialized techniques that literally keep us alive every single second of the day. Okay, let's dive into this. Why has this epic war remained completely hidden from us for so long? Well, it all comes down to a strict biological limitation. You see, the human eye has a hard limit of resolution. When 2 points are closer together than 0.1 millimeters, our eyes just can't distinguish them as separate anymore. They blur into a single point. And because of that tiny 0.1 millimeter limit, an entire universe of conflict and survival has been operating entirely under our radar. So to understand how this all started, we've got to travel way back in time. About 3.5 billion years ago, Earth was this extreme, absolutely hostile place. But in environments much like the boiling hot springs of Ladak's Puga Valley today, life somehow found a way. Heat-loving bacteria, thermophiles, began to thrive. Researchers actually found that the rapid formation of calcium carbonate around these springs likely protected early organic molecules from extreme radiation, and that eventually helped form the very first protective membrane, the ultimate cellular defense that defined the very first cell. From those totally extreme beginnings, the biological world ultimately divided into two ancient clans. On one side, we have the prokaryotes. Think of bacteria. They're the undisputed masters of the prokaryotic domain. They're smaller, ranging from just 1 to 10 micrometers, and they're somewhat primitive, basically storing their genetic material in an open region called a nucleoid. But on the flip side, we have the eukaryotes, the clan of plants, animals, fungi, and us humans. These are larger, typically 10 to 100 micrometers, and vastly more complex, boasting a true, well-defined nucleus to guard their secrets. But, not everyone plays by the rules of these two clans. There are actually rogue entities that exist completely outside cellular laws. We call them acellular infectious agents. You've got viruses, which are essentially just genetic material wrapped up in a protein coat. Then there are viroids, which don't even bother with the protein coat at all. And perhaps the strangest, most ominous of the bunch? Prions. These are misfolded proteins containing zero genetic material, yet they are entirely capable of invading and causing absolute chaos on the battlefield. Now, to make sense of the cellular warriors that do follow the rules, humanity needed its own lore writers. We began codifying the laws of this microscopic world through pioneers like Carl Negeshy and Karl Kramer, which led to some massive declarations. In 1838, the botanist Matthias Schleiden declared that all plants were made of cells. The very next year, in 1839, zoologist Theodor Schwann found the exact same was true for animals. And finally, in 1855, Rudolf Virchow laid down the ultimate law. New cells can only form from pre-existing cells. Together, these pioneers established the classical cell theory, which is governed by three absolutely unbreakable laws. All living organisms are made of one or more cells. The cell is the basic unit of structure and function, and all cells arise only from pre-existing cells. This right here is the grand unifying theory of biology. It's what ensures the continuity of life across every single battlefield, from a solitary bacterium to the trillions of cells working perfectly together in the human body. Now, let's talk about defense. Every cell must cast what we can playfully call a domain expansion, the cell membrane. This is a nearly perfect, selectively permeable boundary. It completely surrounds the cell, dictates the terms of engagement, and determines exactly who may enter the domain and who absolutely must remain outside. It's what shields the cell while maintaining that crucial balance necessary for survival. And this brilliantly illustrates the mechanics behind this barrier, which are just fascinating. We call it the fluid mosaic model. Think of the molecules as being arranged like tiny tiles in a shifting mosaic. It isn't just a static, rigid wall, it's completely fluid in nature. Woven all throughout these moving lipid tiles are various proteins that act like intelligent gatekeepers. They're constantly opening and closing, precisely controlling the flow of substances to maintain the delicate balance required for survival. While the membrane is fluid and highly selective, some clans require an even tougher outer shield. Enter the cell wall, an ultimate barrier technique. Found right outside the cell membrane in plants, fungi, and bacteria, the cell wall is totally rigid. It doesn't just manage flow, it grants unmatched structural strength, protecting the kingdom from immense external pressures and forces that would otherwise completely crush a softer cell. But once you get past the defenses of a eukaryotic cell, you enter an endless battlefield, the innate technique known as the cytoplasm. What's so incredible here is that eukaryotic cells deploy multiple, highly specialized membrane-bound structures called organelles. They're all carrying out independent missions and countless reactions every single second, right at the exact same time without ever interfering with one another. At the very heart of this eukaryotic realm sits the supreme commander. You could really think of it as the six-eyed strategist, the nucleus. This is a well-defined, heavily guarded fortress. Every critical decision, every command, every piece of ancestral knowledge, and every genetic secret required to build and maintain the organism is locked away securely inside this central command center. Now, what's really interesting about this structure is what's actually kept inside that fortress. Unravel a chromosome, and you'll find the beautiful double helix of DNA. This structure literally governs the entire destiny of the cell. It's the master blueprint that dictates exactly what the cell is, what it's going to do, and what it will eventually become. Back outside the nucleus, the cytoplasm is filled with a vast arsenal of microscopic warriors. You have the reverse curse technique, mitochondria. These are the powerhouses relentlessly converting nutrients into ATP, the crucial energy required to keep every single technique in motion. And scattered throughout the battlefield are the Shikigami ribosomes. These are tiny warriors whose sole mission is to forge essential proteins without a single moment's rest. But eventually, the time arrives for a true biological climax, a maximum technique, cell division. When the time is right, one becomes two. Through mitosis, growth continues and dead cells are replaced. Through meiosis, future generations are born. It's an absolute masterclass in heavily monitored, controlled expansion of the domain. So, the crucial point is that this division has to be strictly monitored. In normal animal cells, we see this amazing phenomenon called contact inhibition. When cells touch their neighbors, they actually sense the boundaries and politely stop dividing. It's perfect harmony. But cancer cells, they lose this control mechanism entirely. They rebel against the harmony, ignoring boundaries and dividing uncontrollably, which is exactly what leads to chaotic, lethal tumors. Because balance is literally everything, true survival also requires selective destruction. This is known as programmed cell death, or PCD. It's a genetically regulated, highly organized sacrifice of specific cells, and it is absolutely essential for normal development. For example, when a human embryo is developing, it's PCD that eliminates the tissue between our digits. Without these cells willingly sacrificing themselves, we'd all be born with webbed hands. Crazy, right? As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with one final truth. We've seen that in the world of biology, survival is not determined by massive size or sheer brute force, but by the intricate, flawless harmony of countless microscopic warriors fighting within every single living cell. Every time you move, breathe, or heal, an ancient war is being won inside you. So, knowing all this, are you ready to keep exploring the incredible world within?